Bitcoin with Dinny, and it's Dinny here. I want to give you 3 things that you need to know, you need to understand them by Monday. This is my final video on this, okay? The Bitcoin ETF is guaranteed to launch, and I'm going to explain to you why. This is just history repeating, okay? If you've been an investor for a while, you've experienced this before. And my third point is you need to understand these 3 things because it's the biggest wealth generating opportunity that you have ever experienced in your life and will ever experience in your future. Guys, what is the crack? It's Dinny here from Bitcoin with Dinny. We've been Ireland's first Bitcoin consulting company, and for 4 years now we've helped people to understand Bitcoin, to custody their coins securely, and to use Bitcoin to create a Bitcoin pension so that they can retire early. Beware of scams and scammers on social media, on the internet. Bitcoin is an asset that's new, and with that comes a lot of people who want to steal your money, so be careful. Remember, I'll never reach out to you, I'll never cold message you. If you ever message me, I will likely reply, but I will never cold message you, so please be careful, guys. Last thing I'll say is, if you want to learn about this stuff, please subscribe to the channel. It helps the algorithm, and it allows me to get the information out there. So the first thing I want to talk to you about, and by the way, I'm just in the camper van here. I'm heading up the north. I'm going motocrossing today, and it's my only chance to get this video out. So I'll talk to you now this morning. The first thing is that the Bitcoin spot ETF is guaranteed to launch, okay? And the reason for that is, okay, and this is the same reason you have to pay attention to Bitcoin. By ignoring Bitcoin, you only hurt yourself. So if the US continue to dismiss and deny a Bitcoin spot ETF, the only person that hurts is the US themselves, okay? Because all that capital that would have stayed within that jurisdiction and flowed into the ETF now goes offshore. And this is called game theory, and it's so beautiful the way it plays out, because we're seeing now Hong Kong, China, America's adversary, are now racing to try and get a spot ETF on the books, on the cards, and get the ball rolling on it. Why? Because China can see that if America goes ahead and gets this done, will China lose out? It's the same reason that by you ignoring this information, by you not subscribing to this channel, okay, or not becoming a Bitcoin with Dinny client, had you have set this up 12 months ago, okay, you would be twice as wealthy as you are today, minimum. And this is the thing about Bitcoin, you can't ignore it because it only hurts yourself. So, and you can learn about Bitcoin for free. You don't need to become one of my clients, but if you don't have time to learn and you want expert guidance, then check out www.bitcoinwithdinny.com. Shameless plug, we make our clients more money, that's what we do, okay? Now, full disclosure, this is investing, so don't invest money that you can't afford to lose, and don't let your emotions of fear and greed override your investment decisions. So that's my job, is to help people understand how to do this properly. Because we're coming into frenzy season, bull market season, people lose track of all rationality and they invest money that they can't afford to lose, and then they put themselves in financial difficulty, okay? So you have to learn how to become an investor, you have to learn how to manage risk, and we can help you with all that if you need it. So the Bitcoin spot ETF is guaranteed to launch. It likely launches this Monday. It can be as quick as that. It likely launches this Monday, but perhaps not. Perhaps it takes a few more days, perhaps it's pushed back for a few more weeks, perhaps it's pushed back for a few more months. But it's guaranteed to happen, okay? If you have studied Bitcoin, if you've read all the books, taken all the courses, and spent years trying to understand the thing, you'll realize that Bitcoin's not going away. Bitcoin's impossible to kill, and Bitcoin is here forever. So once you're aware of that, it's like a spot ETF has to be approved, because by it being denied, it's only going to hurt America. And generally, people don't like to hurt themselves. Humans, governments, nation states, they all operate out of self-interest, okay? And that is how I can guarantee you that a US Bitcoin spot ETF will be approved and will launch. Now, my second point is that this is just history repeating, okay? When I'm explaining Bitcoin to clients, and beginners, I normally start with the narrative that Bitcoin is digital gold, because gold is something tangible, and it's something that it's easy for people to understand it, it's easy for people to understand its value when I explain it to people, and therefore they can bridge Bitcoin to that. When I show them that Bitcoin does everything that physical gold does, it just does a lot of the things 100 times better. Okay? So, gold has been around for about 5,000 years. Gold is a store of value. It's a wealth preservation asset. So gold doesn't make anybody rich. It never has. Okay? Gold just preserves your wealth. If you're wealthy and you want to keep your wealth, the portion that you'd like to keep, keeping it in gold has been the way to do that for many, many decades and centuries. Will that change? Well, I think it is, because for the last decade, gold hasn't worked. It hasn't been beating inflation. It's been failing as an asset, okay? And that's because technology has advanced, and now we've built a digital gold. So Bitcoin is digital gold, and that's the narrative that I help people understand Bitcoin, their baby step. Bitcoin is much bigger than just digital gold, but it's a baby step that people find easy to understand. So the gold spot ETF launched, can't remember the exact time frame, but it was about 20 years ago. It's maybe slightly more, but 22 years ago, okay? When the gold spot ETF launched, gold had already been in existence for thousands of years. Every sophisticated human on the planet who was wealthy understood gold. So it wasn't a case that the information or the education had to saturate. Everyone already got gold. Everyone already understood gold. Okay? But when the spot gold ETF launched, gold went on an 8-year bull run. Okay? Meaning the price of gold went up a lot for 8 years. Okay? Now when the Bitcoin spot ETF launches, Bitcoin is this nascent, small, little, tiny asset, fringe asset. Most people don't understand it. Most people have heard the brand name, but they don't actually understand it. Because for me, I've studied Bitcoin for thousands of hours, and my understanding develops and grows. It's not something that you can understand. It's not something that you can understand by reading one book on it, or by watching one YouTube video, or by looking at a newspaper clickbait headline to say, Bitcoin's bad, people lose money in Bitcoin. Okay, that's not true. People like me, we got to retire early. We work for fun. We work because we enjoy it. And the same is true for everybody else who studies Bitcoin. Why? Because it's such early in its adoption. There's such huge opportunity. Okay, so because Bitcoin is so small, it means as the spot ETF launches, when it is approved, well, if gold, this asset that was around 5,000 years, went on an 8-year bull run, and everybody already understood gold and knew about gold and was allocated to gold, well guys, what the hell is Bitcoin going to do when a spot ETF is approved? Like really, there's a huge opportunity here, and people aren't seeing the wood for the trees. They're texting me saying, is Bitcoin going to pull back? I might want to get some, can I get Bitcoin like for a $5 or cheaper? Like some people are too cheap to ever get rich, and that's the number one problem I see with people, or they don't understand how to invest. Too cheap to ever get rich, and they don't know how to invest. You have to invest in education. You have to invest time into education, and sometimes money. Like the only reason I got to retire early, because I invested I invested over 6 figures into my education, and that's why I got to retire early. And it doesn't matter that it cost me that, because what I got in return was much more. Okay, so don't be cheap because it costs you. Okay, realize that there's a cost to investing, and there's a cost to being in this asset. There's 2 ways to be in this asset, and then I'm going to go on to my last point, which is the 3 things that you literally cannot ignore. Okay? There's a cost to being in this asset. Okay? There's a cost to learning for free. It costs you your time and your money. Alright? Or there's a cost to paying someone for their education. And I know I'm shilling my product here, but it's only 100% because every single client that has came to us, because we give you the information, you're able to position yourself, and you will do better, okay? You will far exceed the cost of any of our products. Our high-ticket product costs $3,000, okay? And I'm confident if you have 10 grand or more, 50 grand to invest, you will be able to position that capital to far exceed the costs of our consulting investment advice, plus how we secure your asset. Every single day people lose this asset. And that is why, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to this point, that is why Bitcoin is going to be securitized, okay? The spot ETF is coming for it. And the reason for that is it's difficult to custody your Bitcoin. Most people can't do it. Most people think they can, and as I said, they're cheap. They're like, I'll just do it myself, okay? And then they click on a link and they lose all their Bitcoin. They click on a link because their baby's crying and they're not feeling well, and they're trying to do their shopping in the supermarket, and they see an email and they click on a link and they're gone. Game over. And that's the problem with this asset. If you're a property investor, you can't click on a link, okay, and lose your 4 investment properties. It just doesn't happen. And this is why you must invest in your education to understand how to secure this asset, to understand that you can have malware, you can have spyware, your passwords can be phished, you can be phished, your passwords can be hacked, your exchange account, someone could get into it. We had a guy there lose 33k, was it this week? Yeah, earlier on this week, because his exchange account got hacked. So there's so many ways this thing can go wrong, and you need to understand, you need to invest into getting the correct education to secure your portfolio correctly. Now, if you're only going to put in 5 grand or 10 grand and that's not too much money to you, have at it, like, it'll probably be okay. But if that's a lot of money to you, or you're going to invest 50 grand or 100 grand, that's a lot of money to you, well, this thing needs to be done correctly. All right, because that's what I do. I hire experts to make sure it's done correctly. Rant over, but every single week people just are losing money, and I get the messages after the fact, and they haven't been my clients. And if I could convince them to become my client before the fact, it wouldn't have happened, and their family would be very wealthy in the future. So sorry for the rant, guys, apologies. Do me a favor, become a subscriber of this channel, hit the subscribe button, okay? And you're gonna tell your social media platform, I want to learn more stuff on how to retire early. Because Bitcoin with Dini, our whole tagline is, retire early. We teach people how to retire early, all right? Because it's principles that you can use, and we layer them onto the highest performing asset class on the planet. If you're a property investor, I think you should rotate into the highest performing asset class. Like, I had a message from a fellow this morning saying, I think I'm going to ditch 2 investment properties because they're not performing. And I was like, yeah, makes sense. Like, ditch the losers, buy the winners. Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you keep investment properties that aren't performing when we can invest in the highest performing piece of property on the planet? For the last 13 years, Bitcoin has been the highest performing piece of investment property on the planet, okay? And its returns have averaged 150%, and the next closest thing was 18. It's like, you're being gaslighted, everyone who doesn't understand Bitcoin. Or as a Bitcoin denier, it just means you hate money, because this is not going to change. You can argue with reality all you want, but Bitcoin's here to stay, and it is going to demolish everything in its past, as it has done for 15 years. And we're only getting started, because once the spot ETF launches, BlackRock are going to pay hundreds of millions to now advertise Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin's never had a marketing department before, but guess what? Tomorrow, it might just have one. So my last and final point of why you cannot ignore this, despite everything I said there, guys, how bullish all that was, and tag your friends and family who have pensions, who have investment properties, okay, or who are just trying to buy altcoins and trade them, and who are totally going to screw this up. I've been in this space long enough. I've seen this every cycle. Geniuses come and go, and in the bear market, they go. Where do they go? They go back to work, because they're not retired early, because, excuse my language, they screwed it up in the bull market. So tag these people, and let's try and educate them. My last point, okay? I see this as the golden opportunity, and I'm going to give you three reasons, and then I'm going to finish this video. 1, Bitcoin's halvening. Forget the spot ETF. So just, even if that isn't going to happen, doesn't matter. Put that aside. Yes, that is going to allow trillions to come into this asset, but it doesn't matter. Bitcoin doesn't need the spot ETF today. It'll come. It might come Monday, but it mightn't come for 6 months. Doesn't matter. Bitcoin doesn't need it. 1, Bitcoin's halving event happens in April. Okay, this will be Bitcoin's 4th halving event when the supply is cut in half. And if you understand value, you will know that scarcity, guys, scarcity and value are so correlated. All right? If you're trying to buy something and they're everywhere and everyone has them for sale, well, you can probably get it for cheap. If you're trying to buy something and nobody has it and nobody can get it, well, you're probably going to pay more for it. Okay? Every 4 years, Bitcoin becomes doubly, if that's a word, as scarce. And what that causes, the asset has to be repriced. The free market, the market has to reprice the asset because there simply isn't as much Bitcoin available as there was. So, Bitcoin's halving event happens in April. In all other 3 halving events, it caused a parabolic price run on the price of Bitcoin. And what that means is, if you're not familiar with this terminology, the price went up a lot. Okay? That happens in April. Second thing, the business cycle. If you follow macro people, you'll understand that there's this business cycle of capital flowing and capital retracting, okay? we've had the retraction. 2021, 2022, okay? Interest rates were cut, money was scarcer, but that's ending now, okay? So now interest rates are rising, and there was less money about. That's the business. And now what's happening is interest rates are starting to come down. Why? Because they can't stay up for too long. Why? Because all governments are in debt. They spend more money than they have. Why? Because they're like companies, but they don't have to be profitable. If you run a company and you're spending money that you don't have, guess what happens to your company? You go bankrupt. Unless you're at the very top. Then you become too big to fail. But you start to carry all this debt. And if the government keep bailing you out, as they have been doing since 2008, when we decided we'll socialise the debt, meaning we're just going to burden it on the taxpayer and basically burden it on your children. We're screwing their future. That's why they can't afford a house anymore, okay? Because we've had asset inflation, all right? So you need to understand this stuff. Or maybe it's you. Maybe you're in your 20s, 30s, and you realise, I can't afford a property. I don't think I'm ever going to own anything, and I'm not going to be happy, okay? This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is just the maths of the situation that has been caused by those who are in charge, all right? And there's no other way out. So the debt is too large to keep the interest rates up for too long. Why? Because we can't even afford the repayments on the debt, never mind the repayments on the actual capital, okay? So if interest rates are high, that means the loan repayments on all the debt that all the governments have, they have to pay more, and they can't afford it, okay? So interest rates have to come down. That's how we all knew this. That's how as Bitcoiners we're telling you, build a Bitcoin pension plan throughout the bear market, because this thing, it's so obvious. It's just maths, okay? So that's your second point, the business cycle. We're coming into the positive business cycle now, where more money is going to be printed, and that means scarce things. Assets go up a lot. Assets are hyperinflating. That's why our kids won't be able to afford a house, because a house is an asset, okay? Property is an asset, and it's going to go up in price. The second thing, okay, and Bitcoin is the scarcest asset on the planet, so it's going to go up the most, all right? The third thing is the political cycle. Now, Bitcoin's halving, just a little side point, Bitcoin's halving coincidentally seems to fall in line with the business cycle and the political cycle. Like, I think it's not luck that happened. I think the inventor of Bitcoin was a genius that will never ever get to understand who they were or how they were so intelligent to figure this out, okay? But Bitcoin's halving cycle just happens to coincide with the political cycle. And in the political cycle, it means the president of the US, the largest economy in the world, the largest pool of capital, where the largest pool of capital sits on the planet, is trying to get re-elected. And when they're trying to get re-elected, guess what they do? They want the economy booming. They want to be able to go and say to the people, look what I've done, everything's great. How do you get an economy booming? You print money, baby, and everything goes up. Now remember, you guys who've been subscribed to this channel understand that just because your investments are going up in price, that doesn't mean you're winning. You guys understand purchasing power if you've been here, and if you don't, subscribe to this channel quickly, right now, share it with your friends and family, and go back and watch my other videos to teach you about purchasing power, because all that matters is purchasing power. Because you can say today, I'm worth 100 grand, okay? But if you told me 5 years ago you were worth 100 grand, in purchasing power terms, 5 years ago 100 grand brought you much more stuff. So if you were worth 100 grand 5 years ago, you were much more wealthy than you are today, okay? I would push it so far as to saying you are almost twice as wealthy, because our cost of living over 5 years has pretty much doubled, okay? That's what you have to pay attention to. But back to the political cycle, election cycle, money's going to be printed, market's going to be made boom, and guess what? The scarcest thing on the planet is, the highest performing asset on the planet is, well, it loves when money's printed, because that's why Bitcoin was invented. It was invented as a tool to give normal people, to allow them to have some way to defend their property when central banks print money, okay? And when central banks started printing money in 2008, Bitcoin was invented in 2009 to give people a chance to secure their property in a non-sovereign store of value. In a non-sovereign, a non-governmental store of value, okay? Bitcoin allows you to have sovereignty. So those 3 points alone mean that this year, and particularly next year, look like it's going to be, this isn't financial advice and there's no guarantee of this is investing, okay? But all an investor can do is fundamentally acquire information, and then you put your chips in on the information. When you have all the information, you position your capital. Okay, and that's all any investor on the planet does. If you understand this information, you realize, oh my God, holy shit. Like, what the hell is going to stop this thing and what is going to compete with this thing? I need a Bitcoin strategy. I need it immediately. I need to get onto Bitcoin with Dini's website if I don't understand how to do this myself. Okay, and get onto Dini and build this thing securely so that I can secure generational wealth for my family. All right, or you need to get onto Amazon. You need to buy about 5 Bitcoin books, read them tomorrow as fast as you can, go and do some courses, join our Retire Early Club. Over 4 weeks, we'll teach you absolutely everything. But get yourself up to speed on this, because this is a generational opportunity, okay? Wall Street traditionally get all the new shiny things, and then retail get dumped on. This has been the opposite for 15 years. And it's lads like me, like, look at me. Some idiot in a hoodie, like, I'm not wearing a suit. What does he know about money? What the hell does that lad know? Well, I don't have to go to work on Monday, okay? I will go to work on Monday, because I absolutely love the buzz of working, and I'm actively running 3 businesses at the moment, and I own more than that. And I enjoy the game, and I enjoy the hustle of it, okay? But I don't have to. I do it because I enjoy it. I do it for the buzz. I do it for the challenge. I do it because I love it. But I don't have to. A lot of you people watching this have to. You have to go to your office, or you have to go to your job, or you have to go to your business. All right? And if you hate that, you need to figure this out. Because for 15 years, you've had an opportunity to front run Wall Street. That all changes possibly tomorrow. Okay? Now that doesn't mean this is a bad investment. It just means your asymmetric edge of being before Wall Street. Normally they get it first, and you get dumped on. Okay, and you get the dregs, and the dregs will still retire you early. Okay, you know, investing into Facebook and Amazon and Microsoft were ways that people created insane wealth, and that was that was after Wall Street had securitized them. Okay, so you have an incredible opportunity here. I urge you not to ignore it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. And my last thing is, let me know when you think this ETF is going to be improved. Just type in the comments Monday. Just say never. If you're really foolish, or let me know. And if you enjoy the content, just give me a thumbs up. That's all I ask. It helps the algorithm. But for now, I'll say, share this with your friends and family. Don't sleep on Bitcoin. It's the most important thing you have. If you're only starting to understand it, don't FOMO, okay? Get the information and make an educated bet, okay? Guys, have a super day. I'm going up to ride the motocross bike. I'm going to have fun. And I'm just going to say for now, Dini out.